Good afternoon. I'm going to call to order the Governing and Implementation Board of the Santa Clara Valley Habitat Agency. Today is Thursday, January 16th. The time is 3 p.m. By teleconference. We have Supervisor Joe Simidian calling in, and we're waiting for Council members Pam Foley and Maya Esparza. However, according to our clerk, we do have a quorum. Roll call, Angie.
Chair Lazat. Here. Board members Calnan. Here. Wasserman. Here. Tucker. Here. Spring. Here. Carmen. Here. Velasco.
Here.
And Simidian. Oh, sorry.
Simidian here.
All right. We have a quorum of the Implementation Board?
Yes.
Okay. We have a quorum of the Governing Board?
No.
Not yet.
We need
okay.
San Jose, yeah.
All right. So, report from the chairs. I have nothing to report.
Go Niners.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Report from the Public Advisory Commission. Walt Glynns. Is Walt here? Does he want to report? I do not see him. All right. Public comments for any item not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any cards, or does any speaker want to come up?
No, ma'am.
Doug, do you want to say something?
Happy New Year.
Say Happy Decade. Same for you. Does that fellow in the front row have anything he wants to say? No, never mind.
Married life is wonderful.
Yes. For those listening, it was directed at my husband. Okay. We now can I have a motion for the consent items, or items 8, 9, and 10?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, for approval of consent items 8, 9, and
Maya Esparza.
10. Welcome, Maya.
Hi. Sorry
right.
for being late.
That's all right. We're moving things around a little bit. The Implementation Board agenda is going first, followed by the Joint Governing Implementation Board actions, and then we're going to go to the Governing Board. So next item, regular business. Item number 11, selection of the 2020 Implementation Board Chair and Vice Chair. I'm going to recognize Ann Calnan.
Okay, I move to nominate Linda Lazat for chair and Jennifer Carmen for vice chair of the Implementation Board.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to nominate Linda Lazat and Jennifer Carmen as vice chair. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
We need a roll call.
Good evening or afternoon. This is Councilmember Pam Foley from San Jose. I'm sorry I'm late.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Pam. How are you? We are, for your information, we're in the Implementation Board agenda items. The Governing Board will follow directly after this. We need a roll call vote for the chair and the vice chair of the Implementation Board. Madam Clerk?
Yes. Chair Lazat.
Yes.
Board members Velasco.
Yes.
Calnan. Wasserman.
Yes.
Tucker. Yes. Spring.
Aye.
Carmen.
Yes.
Esparza.
All right.
Here.
Was that a yes?
Maya, was it? There you go.
Okay. All right, that motion
Sorry,
passes.
I just muted myself by accident. Yeah.
Thank you. That motion passes, and thank you for your continued confidence in me leading this august body. And thank you, Jennifer, for your stepping up to be vice chair. Future Implementation Board initiated agenda items. Does anyone on the Implementation Board wish to place something on a future agenda? No. Seeing none, we now move on to the Joint Governing and Implementation Board. We have a consent calendar. It is the approval of the minutes of the September 19th, 2019 regular joint meeting of the Governing and Implementation Board.
Motion to approve 3, 4, and 5.
Second.
No, this was, no, just, this is for the joint governing. So it's just a motion,
One item.
motion to approve item number 1 on the joint board.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve the minutes of the Joint Governing and Implementation Board. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
One abstention.
One abstention. Board Member Velasco. Do we need a roll call? Yes, because we have people not in the room.
Chairs Wasserman.
Aye.
Lazat.
Yes.
Board members Velasco.
Abstain.
Calnan.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Spring.
Aye.
Carmen. Yes. Esparza.
Yes.
Foley.
Aye.
Simidian.
Committee and I.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to the regular business, item number 2, report from the executive officer.
Thank you.
Received report, thank you.
Is it too late to say Happy New Year to everybody or Happy Decade?
Never too late.
Never too late. Okay. So just going to give you a brief update on what's been going on since our last joint meeting in September. We had an implementation board meeting in November, and some of the items that the implementation board approved are moving forward. One of the acquisitions is, and I'll update you on that in a moment. So every meeting I give you an update on the endowment. To date, we've invested $1,485,203 in the Silicon Valley Community Foundation Social Responsibility Fund. As of yesterday, the balance was $1,707,012. And that's for the endowment for perpetuity, in management of the reserve system in perpetuity when the agency and the permit sunset in 44 years. We'll all be here, right? Yes. So advocacy update. We're continuing to work with the California Coalition on Mullen's bill, AB 1298, and Allen's bill, SB 45, climate resiliency, fire risk reduction, recycling, groundwater and drinking water supply, clean beaches and jobs, infrastructure bond act of 2020. That's a mouthful, huh? And then the Allen bill has a equally long name. So we're ensuring that there's funding available for the things that we do as a natural communities conservation plan, which overlaps a lot with what the parks departments do and other conservation groups. I was in on a phone call with Mullen and his staff with a lot of other people, and he's a representative out of San Francisco, and it was a good call, and he's very sensitive to our issues, as I've heard from our Southern California people that Alan is. We're also going to have a meeting next Tuesday to talk about the governor's budget, so all the HCP, NCCPs, and see how the governor's budget can help to continue to do, to support the good work that HCPs, NCCPs do in the state. On the federal side, our annual National HCP Coalition Advocacy Trip is in balmy February this year versus late March or April. Just wondering if I have the right coat to wear over my suit for that. So the county again has graciously offered the services of Prime Policy Group in helping us set up meetings with the federal delegation. I'll be meeting hopefully with Lofgren, Kana, Panetta, and SU, as well as various House and Senate committees. Also the staff of Senator Rubio from Florida, Harris, and Feinstein. I won't be the only one meeting with them, and possibly Senator Cruz from Texas. Aurelia Skipworth is now the Director of Fish and Wildlife Service. We're trying to set up a meeting with her. We already have meetings scheduled with some of the high-ups of Fish and Wildlife Service. There's usually meetings with some of the high-ups at Department of Interior and the White House Office of Management and Budget. So our primary talking points will be, as a group and also me as an individual, is sort of the talking about the importance of large-scale regional HCPs like ours is. The growth of the National Coalition, which at our conference in November, we had 125 people. And as you remember, the organization just started a few years ago, and there was 40 people that showed up at the first one. So we're getting a broad countrywide participation, which is good when you're advocating for the programs that support what we do in Washington. I will talk to our delegation, particularly the Congress members, about some of the challenges we face and some of the successes we've had with implementing the HCP here in Santa Clara County. one of the most important things we have to do is there's bipartisan support for the Section 6 program. The administration zeroes it out every year in the budget, and both the Senate and the House put the money back in. Back in the day, there was $85 million for land acquisitions, and as there's more HCPs coming online, both within the state and across the country, we need more money to support the work that's done by HCPs. The last few years, it's been in the mid-50s, 50 millions. So we're asking them to boost it back up to 85 million, what it was a couple decades ago. We're also asking all our delegation to sign on to Congressman McNerney's Section 7 support letter. Typically, we don't get a Republican co-sponsor. There's hope that that'll change this year with some of the representatives from Florida. Congressman Cook from Southern California potentially could sign on also. So a grant update. OSA was awarded, you're wondering why I'm bringing up OSA awarded grant, because it'll help with the acquisition of Tilton. They got $1 million through the Priority Conservation Area Land Grant Program. That's jointly managed by ABAG and Coastal Conservancy. We got a PCA grant along with Point Blue and OSA for nearly $400,000 to work on the Pajaro River restoration. $10 million is what we applied for the most recent Section 6, which is submitted in May. From what I understand, we should find out in March what amount we'll get and how much. Cautiously optimistic we'll get something, and hopefully it's the 10. We were awarded 2 LAG grants, local assistant grant programs, totaling $285,412. 210 of that is for Pajaro, so we've already lined up nearly $600,000 for the Pajaro River restoration through grants. And monarchs are still not doing very well. They're being considered for endangered species listing. So we're going to try to do things to stave off that listing, and we're going to apply for some money to do some more broad-scale meadow restoration, which focuses on the host plant, the milkweed, and the nectar plants that they need to survive. The restoration update, Pacheco Creek, which we've talked to you a little bit about in the past. Construction will start on that in 2021. And that project will be important for advanced mitigation credits, hopefully for the regional board and the Army Corps, which will help with VTA projects and county roads and airport projects, as well as any projects in Morgan Hill or Gilroy, which need those permits in the Monterey Bay watershed. So Valley Water's the lead on Bosa Road. They're doing the project as part of one of their, I think, a D5 program. I always forget those names, which one is which. And they're working with us collaboratively, and we'll get stream credit, restoration credit, and Valley Water's stepping up to do the project, but we'll still get some of the credits we need towards the 10 miles of restoration we have to do towards streams in the county. And I mentioned the Pajaro project already. On land acquisitions, I got some good news. You got some maps in your packet. The first map, which is entitled Figure 6 Tilton, that's, so we closed escrow on the property that has all the blue dots on it. That's supposed to represent bay checker spot sightings. There's also 4 of the rare plants on that property, so we now own that property. We're the proud owners of part of what was the Tilton Ranch, and that closed on December 23rd. That's critical for the Anderson Dam seismic retrofit as it mitigation for the Coyote Sea and Othis take that's happening. We had the take of the plan. It started with the geotech work that the that Valley Water was doing in association with the seismic retrofit. So we had 5 years to acquire or create an occurrence, and the clock would have run out this year. So we, nothing like waiting to the 11th hour.
Last minute, yeah.
But it's taken care of, so that's really good news.
Good job.
And the Davison parcel, which is the third map, Punpack, excuse me, which is the second map. We went to the implementation board to ask for authority to purchase these two parcels, and we closed on the 347 acres. We closed on those property December 12th. We co-acquired it with Post. County Parks is going to assist with the acquisition, and ultimately the property will be deeded over to County Parks with our conservation easement over it. So it's important for trail connectivity and also conservation. Davison, which is the final map in your packet, that's right outside of Morgan Hill. It's within the boundaries of Morgan Hill. Yagas Road is the main road that runs near this, as well as, I guess the other one would be Hale. So this is almost 100% serpentine soils. And it has most of the rest of the occurrence of the Coyote Ceanothus. And in both of the case of this acquisition, which we're expecting to close in February, there was a lot of issues with the trusts and the trust approving the sale, and so it got a little more complicated, but we're expecting to close on this property in February. And the Valley Waters D7 program paid for both the acquisition of Baird and this property. That was greatly appreciated. These properties were really important for achieving the conservation objectives.
Our pleasure.
And then Tilton Ranch, that's that first map I showed you. So the properties north of Willow Springs Road, the remainder of the properties, we're hoping to close on. We finally got a purchase and sale agreement by the Burbach family, and we're hoping to close escrow on the other half of the ranch in June of 2020. Clara, that's still going along. We're having a meeting next month. Keep my fingers crossed that that's the end of the negotiations, and then we'll submit the easement, the draft easement to the wildlife agencies for approval. And once we get this done, the county will have a template, and hopefully the next enrollments into the reserve system of existing county parkland will go quicker. There's other properties that we're talking to landowners on. Some we're doing appraisals on. I'll be able to update you on those as they become more like we're ready to acquire them. Right now, it's just talk and appraisals.
Great, excellent work, Edmund. Does
Thank
anyone
you.
have any questions? Renee?
No, good news.
If I may, not so much a question, but living here in Morgan Hill, I'm really excited about what I hear, what you were able to do with the Tilton Ranch area. There was quite some angst. I live not too far away in our area, that it might go into wrong hands. So I'm glad you were able to step in and take over.
And by wrong, he means different hands.
So into the hands of people who will preserve it, let me put it that way. It's such a beautiful area up there. If you ever get a chance to go there, it's just, I'm really excited, and thank you for your efforts.
You're welcome. Thank
Whoever's
you.
helping you.
Anyone else? Again, Edmund, thank you, and on behalf of the Water District, the partnership with you and the agency is, goes hand in hand with the environmental goals of the Water District. So, really appreciate this excellent work, and I know we'll continue to work with you for a common goal. So, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right then. With that, I'm going to. The work of the implementation board is concluded, and we're going to adjourn the implementation board to the joint meeting with the governing board on March 19th, 2020. And I'm going to now turn this over to the Chair of the Governing Board, Supervisor Westman.
Thank you very much, Chair Lazat. With that, and we've got one, Angie, what do we have? One or two members of the Governing Board on the phone?
One. Oh, sorry, two.
We do have two. Okay, so we need Supervisor Simidian to stay on and Maya to stay on. Councilmember Maya.
I'm here too, Pam Foley.
Pam needs to stay.
And I'm here, I'm Maya.
Oh, they're all three Governing Board.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful,
Pam
super.
Foley's only on the implementation board.
Okay, well, that gives us the quorum with, I'm sorry, on my sheet, it says Governing Board Member Pam Foley.
Yes.
Are you?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, and just as we lose our dual member people, implementing people, with the people, Angie, the three we have on the phone and the three we have here, we have a quorum.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I'll go with that, yes.
Okay, so let's jump right to it, and we have consent items 3, 4, and 5 under Governing Board actions. Oh, do I have any speakers here for items 3, 4, and 5? Seeing none. Fellow committee members, any motion regarding approval or not of
I'll
consent
move to
items?
approve.
A second.
Motion made.
Second.
Thank you. We have that. Any discussion, committee members? Seeing none. Andy, can we please have a verbal roll call? Yeah, well, you trained me?
Chair Wasserman,
Aye.
board members Tucker,
Yes.
Spring,
Aye.
Esparza,
Yes.
Foley,
Aye.
Simidian.
Simidian, aye.
All right, thank you all. That passes unanimously. Next is item number 6, which is the review and acceptance of the fiscal year 2018-19 audit report.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. We have David Farnsworth, our auditor, is here to
Good
give
timing,
you
David.
give a presentation on last year's audit.
It's coming up, I think.
What's that?
Did you send it to them?
I sent it.
Did you get the audit report or the presentation?
We have their audit report presentation in our
Okay.
in our binder.
Working on that. He's talking about down there. on the
Oh, sure.
PowerPoint.
That's fine, I'll do a workaround really quickly.
Okay.
And David, your PowerPoint is what we received?
That is a good question. They didn't tell me what exactly. I would imagine it was the audit report.
What I'm asking is if we need another presentation here, or if we already have the information, and it might just be questions. So I don't know if what you're showing us is different than what we've got here. I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4,
It's a full audit report.
5, 6, 7. I've got about a 20-page report.
Yeah, I don't
Here.
think they have, I think, obviously there was, the proper information wasn't sent to you guys. No, the presentation wasn't, you have the audit report, I know
Yeah, the
that.
report,
Yeah,
yes.
but not the presentation.
presentation.
Yes,
Okay, thanks. Take it away.
yeah.
All right.
And while he's setting up, anybody here from the public wish to speak on this item? Doug? No? We're good? No? We're good. Okay.
Should be getting, check your phone. Fortunately.
When the people call in, do they see?
No, I don't. This is televised right now?
Yes,
So our 3 members on the phone can actually see this.
It's not,
Is it
they
live?
It's
record
not
it
streaming.
to
Oh.
YouTube.
Okay.
It's not streaming.
Okay.
It's the previews for the new James Bond movie, Joe.
the last one supposedly.
Okay, yeah. The last one again.
Yes.
For some reason, it's not wanting to go in. Oh, there we go.
Okay, well, we have your audit, full 27-page audit, 29-page audit report. Is there something you can add verbally?
Yes, actually, I got it. It's going through.
Okay.
So yep. so about 30 seconds, give or take.
Mike,
Yes.
I can't hear him at all.
Okay, thank you.
Turn your mic on.
Could he
Yep, we're going to get to that right now, Pam.
closer to the microphone or something? Thank you.
Yep.
Perfect.
There.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
A little bit better, but not too.
A little bit better. How about
You're not
how
loud
about
enough yet. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's it. Perfect. That's great.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I prepared the financial audit of the Santa Clara Valley Habitat Agency, and this is, wait a second. There it is. That was last year's.
2018.
Yep. And it was given the same opinion as last year, so it was an unmodified opinion. So meaning the financial statements are free from material misstatement. So the goal is for this evening, more or less, I'm going to give you a very, more or less a simple analysis. I'm going to give you a difference between this year and last year, and then we'll go into financial analysis section. And I found that it's a little easier to understand the audit with the presentation of what I'm going to be showing you rather than just saying, open to page 3, 4, and 5. So as a general rule, pretty much the financial audit, we're going to plan and assess where the most risk would be in the sense of risk of material misstatement. And then that's how we actually create our audit program. We test, so we don't actually look at 100% of the transactions. Then based upon the testing, the results, we provide a conclusion. So that's more or less the process of the financial audit. Now this shows the cash did increase about $735,000, so it was pretty much a 4% increase in cash. Accounts receivable substantially increased, but this was because there's a grant for a land and the cash wasn't received till after fiscal year end. And interest receivable, that was what was the interest income for Q4. And then prepaid expenses, this is very immaterial. And of course, the capital assets were $247,000, so that decreased because depreciation exceeded the capital asset additions. Accounts payable and other liabilities did go up, and compensated absences did go up, so there was a total, it went up about 87% increase. Feel free to ask a question if you have any questions.
Thank you, David. I will ask a question.
Yes.
While I appreciate all of your data, that percent difference column can be really misleading. For instance, on the current page, net investment, okay, or that page, you know, going from $1 to $2 is a 100% increase. And going from $1 million to $1,000,001 is a 10% increase.
Correct.
But I'd much rather our assets or net worth go up $100,000 than one. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to make sure for all the members and people seeing this, if they're looking on that far right column, for instance, you said prepaid expenses is a negligible, nothing, it's $600.
Yeah.
And it's negative 12%. That's three times the increase in cash and investments. Mm-hmm. Yet the cash and investments went up $750,000.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So I would throw out for your consideration, we don't need a percent difference column. Because otherwise somebody looks on this and says, wow, our expenses have gone up 12% and our cash has only gone up 3%. Well,
Understood, and that's why I added the dollar column. Because if I only had added the column for the percentage, it would be extremely misleading because, wow, prepaid expenses decreased.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was the reason for adding both of them.
Okay, I'm just throwing that out to you because a lot of times people just look to the far right for what the change is.
Oh, okay.
And I would, if I was that column, I'd much rather be up 4% than down 12.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yep. And total net position, this is just pretty much assets minus liabilities, but you can see that it did increase substantially, and it was mainly due to the revenues exceeded expenditures. And we'll see that in the next. So the revenues, so the charges for services, which is pretty much your assessments, or the charges for services did decrease, but the total revenues increased mainly because of the grant, so the land grant. Any questions in this?
No?
And expenditures, there were, I know last year there were preparation for different projects that we're going to start in this year, so that would explain why conservation strategy implementation increased from 1.3 to 3 million.
And David, if I may ask for next year?
Yes, sir.
Because I think we're likely to have 2 or 3 members teleconferencing in.
Okay.
Just because of the location, time of day, et cetera, et cetera. If you could possibly get this report to all of us
Prior to,
electronically,
okay.
they could have it in front of them because this meeting is not televised live.
Okay.
And the slides that you're showing us and the silence that they're hearing and the comments I'm making, like about the percent difference column, they can't see.
They can't see that, understood, okay.
If you could get it all to us maybe a week ahead of time, since I'm sure it was done a month ago.
Yes.
Yep, thank you very much.
Okay, no, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep,
So yeah.
Thank you.
For sure, those that are listening in can't see this. So just to look at the cash over since 2015 through 2019. So in 2015, there was 3.9 million. It did go up to 10.5 million in 2016. It went back down in 2017. And then, of course, there was pretty much record revenues in the last few years, so hence why it spiked up. Now, current liabilities, of course, in 2015, it was still a new agency, so you would expect it to be lower. 164,000 was in 2015, went down to 101,000, then spiked back up to 187,000, and then there was 325,000, and then it went back up again to 633,000. And this is really mostly based upon the accounts payable. So a lot of these vendors, they may do services for the agency in May and June, but they won't bill until July. So this number represents that.
thank you. Can you go back one screen, please?
Yes, sir.
And Maya and Pam and Joe, just so you know, our cash analysis from 2 years ago, we've gone from 10 million to 18 million. We're now at 19 million. And the next screen was showing our liabilities has gone from about 200,000 to 600,000. So long story short, our liabilities have gone up 400,000 and our cash position's gone up 8 million.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now, for the long-term liabilities, this is just pretty much all accrued vacation. So whatever they had on the books as of June 30th, that's the number multiplied by the hourly rate. So this number went from 39,000. For some reason, it was missed in the 2015 and 2016 audit, hence why there's 0, but really there was something. And then in 2017, that's when the new auditors realized, oh, this is actually part of the accounting standards, you have to record it. So it's 39,000, increased about 11,000 between 2017 and 2018, and then increased an additional, what is that, like 17,000 more or less from 2018 to 2019 to 65, almost 66,000. Now revenues, they were fluctuated, pretty much started 7.5 million in 2015. In 2017, as low as a little under 4 million, then went back up to 10 million. And because of these grants that the agency is receiving, that is increasing the revenue as well. So 12.4 million was the total revenue in 2019.
Excellent.
Good job. Now let's buy all that land.
He's doing it.
So what I did was some of these fees, like the serpentine fees, the land cover fees, just to more or less get an idea over the last 5 years, what were these amounts? So they were very high in 2015 and 2016 at 888,000, 807,000, went down to 110,000. And it seems like these are fluctuating, pretty much they've been fluctuating every year. Land cover fees, it's fluctuating very similarly in the sense that there's not really that's probably why it's so difficult to project these revenues. Land cover fees went 3.7 million, 4.5 million, 2016. 2019 was 2.5 million. So these types of revenues did go down as a total if you compare it, but the total revenues went up because of the grants.
And David, if I may, to Joe, Pam, excuse me, and Maya, what you're not seeing right now, he's showing 5 years of bar charts, and the bar charts are showing the fluctuation in revenue, and the serpentine revenue is all a function of the development by San Jose, the county, whoever, and paying fees for when they develop. And sometimes they, in Edmund's budget, to be fair to him, he was anticipating the development to occur in a certain year, and so he plugged the revenue, anticipated revenue, into the analysis. They did not get through their planning department timely, so it was not used that year, and then it was in the next year. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
And then this slide is very similar, but it's the nitrogen disposition fees, the Western Burrowing Owl fees. They pretty much had a record high in 2018 and then dipped down in this actual current year. So you see the nitrogen, it was 194,000. Of course, the Western Burrowing Owl fees was only 51,000. Now we're almost done. The expenses, they fluctuated as you would think. They're going to fluctuate with the revenues. If there's more revenue, you're probably going to plan for more projects. So you had 1.5 million of it total expenses in 2015. In 2016 was 2 million, went up to 3.4 million in 2017. It did go down because there was preparation for the projects for this fiscal year 2019, and then went back up to 4.2 million this current fiscal year. And this gives a nice little chart of the administrative fees. You can see it's gone up from about 2015 to 2017, and then spiked back down. So the last few years, you're hovering between 700 and 800,000. And the technical and permitting support was as high as about 500,000 in 2015, and you could see it dip down and then spiked back up in 2019. It was almost 400,000. Now the conservation strategy implementation, you'll see, I'll just speak about last year, like I said, preparing for these projects, so it actually decreased, but then these projects were initiated in 2019, and then you see an increase in expenses. And that actually concludes the presentation, so I hope that was, well, a little more difficult if you're hearing rather than seeing. And so for next year, I will be sending this to everyone a week in advance or 2 weeks in advance, so you can review this with the audit report.
Great. David, could I also ask that to the 3 members that are on the phone right now, could you please send electronically a copy of this report to all of us and include them?
Yes, sir.
So they've got that written?
Yes.
Wonderful. So our 3 committee members on the phone, any questions? Joe, Maya, Pam?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Committee members here, any questions?
Nope.
None. And again, we have no one from the public wishing to speak on this item. So I'll look for a motion to accept the audit report.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made and a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion from anyone?
No.
Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Oh, I'm sorry, but we need to do Dang it, I almost did it, Angie. We need to do roll call vote.
Chair Wasserman.
Aye.
Members Tucker.
Aye.
Spring.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about that.
Esparza?
So,
Yes.
Foley.
Aye.
Semidion.
Smitty and I.
Thank you.
Passes unanimously.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. And drive safely back home.
I thought the presentation was very well laid out, so.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, it was-
And I will be making those changes for next year.
Thank you, and very easy to understand. We appreciate that. Yep, and very nice year, Edmund,
Thank you.
and your staff. Please pass that on. Okay, thank you. Final item now under the governing board agenda is item 7, selection of the 2020 governing board chair and vice chair. Do I have a motion?
I would like to make a motion to continue Supervisor Wasserman as chair.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. I'll make a motion to continue Kat Tucker as chair. As vice chair.
Vice chair, please.
Second that.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion, we have a second by Renee. So we have a motion on the floor. If any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a voice count. Roll call, vote.
Chair Wasserman.
Aye.
Members Tucker.
Aye.
Spring. Esparza.
Yes.
Foley.
Aye.
Supervisor?
Smitty and I.
Thank you.
Thank you all. That concludes our governing board agenda for today. Our next meeting will be March 19th. Angie, I assume at the same time, same location?
Can I have a follow-up question?
Yes, please.
We just recently heard that San Jose City Council is possibly approving an expansion of the airport. And that's where we had talked in the past about the burrowing owl having their major nesting.
Yes.
So my question really has to do is because I can't remember from years ago when we created this habitat plan, do they pay once and then when they expand they pay again? Or is it a continuous payment for the burrowing owl?
Vis-a-vis the airport, yeah, the airport is carved out of the habitat plan, but I've had some discussions with airport management and their consulting team, and they are proposing to voluntarily mitigate through the habitat plan for their impacts to burrowing owls at the airport. So
That's excellent.
it is. And for the nitrogen deposition too. So in their recent EIR, I reviewed the bio section. They requested that I look at it, and I noticed that those two items, mitigation measures, were in the EIR.
Okay, good.
So hats off to the airport and the city for doing that.
Agreed.
So once that EIR is approved, they have made a commitment to do what we have a policy for voluntary contributions towards mitigation. And my understanding, the wildlife agencies are comfortable with that. So
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I just know that was one of the major nesting areas.
yeah,
So-
exactly. And the airport seems to be open to doing a management agreement with us for co-managing owls on their properties. That's still an uncertainty, but at least they're exploring that option too.
Okay,
Wonderful.
thank you.
Any other comments or questions from committee members here or abroad? Hearing none, we'll have consider this meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much for your participation.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Chair.
Congratulations. Thank you both.